What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here at GSD Studios. First off, I want to thank you for watching the show. I truly appreciate your support. I know it's annoying, but please listen to the entire intro before the podcast begins, as I really need your help. So before we jump in, just a few quick favors, you guys. Number one, please share the show with anyone you feel that will benefit. This truly helps grow the show and has a massive impact on many lives. So please go out there, share the show. Sharing is caring, right? Number two, if you have not already, make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please leave a 5-star review on iTunes and in Stitcher, again, if you have not done so already. Number three, make sure that you join the private GSD Mode Facebook Mastermind group. If you go to www.gsdmode.com, you'll see a button right there on the home page that you can click and request to be added to that group right away. And lastly, I want to give our sponsors a quick shout out that make this show entirely possible. Our first sponsor is my personal 90-day mastery bootcamp. This is my personal mentorship training program where I give you everything that I do inside my business. You get my entire playbook, you guys. We have 12 live 3+ hour long sessions. Each session we go so in depth on exactly what I do inside my real estate team and how I operate my business. Plus, there's a lot of different bonus sessions. You get access to everything I do inside my business on my tracking forms, presentations, checklists, lead generation tactics, lead follow-up tactics, team contracts, and much more. There's absolutely nothing that I withhold from you that you don't get access to. Plus, you get daily access to me inside the group. So this is hands down the most effective and affordable real estate training program on the planet. Check us out, www.90daymastery.com, or click the link below to learn more about that. If you do join, make sure to plug in promo code Live Mastery. That's all caps, all one word, all together, which will save you $500. Make the whole entire program like $997, or 3 payments of $333. Our next sponsor number 2, is PerfectStormNow.com. This is an insanely effective lead generation website for realtors, and now offers not just the front end website, but a website and CRM combo with all my personal written follow-up drips and scripts. And some of these, you guys, go out 1,000+ days. We made it where it's 100% dummy proof. And this system, you guys, competes with $1,000+ month systems that exist in the industry, and it's only $199 per month. So make sure to check us out, www.perfectstormnow.com, where you can check out in-depth demos, client testimonials, more info, all that fun stuff. Our third sponsor is EMF. I'm really excited about this one. This is Optimized Life Nutrition's newest supplement, newest nootropic. It's by far the most powerful nootropic on the planet. EMF stands for Energy, Memory, Focus. If you're like me and you want to have insane energy, improved memory, extreme, intense, focused, this is the best product, you guys, that money can buy. I take it every single day, and the results are insane. Improved energy, improved focus, improved mood, awareness, and we've even had many clients tell us improved sex, dude. So it's just this crazy, insane, overall life-enhancing product. So check that out at www.optimizedlifenutrition.com. Lastly, if you want to be like me and the crew here at GSD Studios, kicking ass every single day, highly recommend that you rock your GSD gear here on the website, www.gsdmode.com. Snag your shirts. We have women's shirts, men's shirts. I got some hats, and we got a lot more apparel on the way. So what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview. Every single week, we interview top entrepreneurs and just straight up top badasses out there dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create great, epic businesses and lives for themselves, for their families, as well as having a positive impact on this life while they exist. So you guys, we got a special guest on the show, a guy that I've known through social media for a long time, so finally excited to get him on the show. He's a busy guy, so really stoked to have him on the show. This is a dude that, again, very successful entrepreneur. He's got a real estate practice. His first year in the business, though, like so many, he struggled in the real estate business, doing about $12,000 in sales, and now he's doing over $1 million a year in sales. So really stoked and honored to have Adam Stark on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, what's up, guys? Josh, I appreciate you having me. And like you just said, we've been following each other on social media for a while. We were just talking here before we went, before the intro here. similar mastermind that we had been in together. So I'm excited, man, to share some of the things that, one, to obviously have a conversation with you, because I don't think we've ever had a chance to truly connect, but also be able to share, as you mentioned, go how I went from that $12,000, first year, to where we're at currently in my business with my team and what we have going on. So, main thing for me is, dig as much out of me as you can. I'm going to provide as much value. Full disclosure, I'm taking it from what I know about you and from what I've followed on you. Like, language is not going to be an issue here. Like I said, I'm a little politically incorrect, but you're going to get nothing but truth and raw, real shit from me. So I'm excited, man. Just let's dive in and let's provide as much value as we can for your guests. That's why I'm here today.
Yeah, love it, man. That's what we do, dude. So, all right, man. So let's rewind the clocks, though. Because I know that pretty quickly after college, you jumped in the real estate space. What intrigued you to get? If you run the clocks back to whenever that was, I think 2009 or whatever. Like, what originally drove you into real estate in the first place?
The old question. So I love this question because it always makes me smile, right? So I was right out of college, man. I was like a lot of people. I could say a lot of people, I guess, man. But if you look at the college crowd today, I'm like probably one of those. I don't know if you could call me a liberal, right? But at the time, man, I was one of those kind of naive kids when I went to school for, honestly, just so I could keep the gravy train rolling. I didn't have to go out and like really enter the true real world at the moment. But after college, man, I had a business degree. Makes a great desk ornament. I don't know if you can see it back there. That's about all it's good for these days, but it does make a good desk ornament. So I got out of school, and I honestly thought that by going to college, I was going to be entitled to some like big office position. I was going to sit at a desk and make like $75,000 a year, cake job, and it was like that was going to be it, right? I'm from a little town in Missouri. I went to a college that was just right outside of here. In Warrensburg, Missouri, about 30 minutes outside of Kansas City, Missouri. So, getting out of there, I thought that's honestly what I thought. And I think it was Monster.com. Does anyone remember Monster.com? We used to go on and like apply for jobs and shit. So I got a whole bunch of callbacks from places like Enterprise Rent-A-Car and this and that, And so I was all over the place, like trying to interview for positions. Could not find a job. I say that now, but looking back, honestly, knowing who I was then, that's probably more of an excuse. I wasn't trying super hard, but I ended up finding a job at an electrical distributor here in town, and went and worked for them for 2 years, working in a warehouse, like making $19,000 a year prior to taxes. Working again in this warehouse that had no heat, no AC. I can just say what it is because I don't think this dude's no longer the mayor, and he's probably not watching this. My boss was a prick, and I just hated it, man. It was one of those days it's one of those things every day I'd wake up, and I'd wake up just enough time to get to work 5 minutes late, right? Like that's what I was doing. And I just remember, man, the first year wasn't so bad because listen, even $20,000 working inside. Before that, I'd always had labor jobs. So for me, I'm like, it was cool. I'm like, hey, at least we're inside, and not breaking our back swinging hammers. I'm just kind of, loading shit up with a forklift and helping contractors load their trucks. Like, it ain't so bad. But after the first year, like going into the second one, man, I started having this feeling inside where, I was broke. Living paycheck to paycheck, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people have. And I got to this place where like something inside of me just started bubbling up, and it just grew and it grew and it grew. And that thing, like this voice was like, this cannot be what like life is all about. Cause I had honestly convinced myself that like, this was the path for me, that success wasn't for me. Like I didn't have the traits. I wasn't born to be this ultra, successful dude who made money or like had anything really good going on. It's like, I was just an average guy. I had accepted that fate. And I was like 23, 24 years old, So after that whole year, it just bubbled up. And finally one day, man, I came in, and again, you may not have caught that, but this guy ended up being the mayor. I probably would have handled this a little differently had I known that that's where he was going to go. But I just, honestly, I'd had enough, man. And so I like real estate wasn't even on the radar. I had no idea this was even a career path that I would get into or consider. I had no experience in sales, entrepreneurship, but I knew I didn't want to do this. So I walked in that day and I said, listen, man, I don't know what to do here, but every day I come to work, I literally feel like driving off the bridge. It's like, maybe not literally, but figuratively, I can't take it. I said, so, I hate to do this to you. I know you want 2 weeks, but man, I'm out of here. And you ever like leave school, fake being sick, and like you kind of keep that like real sick look on your face until you get like where no one can see you, and like you kind of break the smile, like, hell yeah, I did it. Yeah. Like that's what it was for me. That I was like, honestly, if I could say I was anything back then, I was probably a big pussy. And to do that, to like take that leap, and like I had saved for like 6 months. I knew I had a little bit of reserves on hand. I had no idea what the hell I was going to do. I had no job planned. but I just burnt out of that place. And honestly, it was the best decision I made. That was the first step in my life where I took a real leap of faith. And I'm sure as we continue on in this conversation, you're going to see that there's been multiple times where I've listened to this voice. It's gotten louder over the years, and I've learned to just continuously listen to it and take leaps of faith. So I left that day, and I kind of just wandered around for about 2 or 3 months, aimlessly, like had nothing really going, and really I didn't put any pressure on myself to do so until the bank account started dwindling. I was kind of working. I'd go out and hit up my old contractor guys. I was digging some holes, trying to do what I could to make a few extra bucks. And I had a buddy of mine who had told me, had hit me up one day and he said, "Man, I'm getting my real estate license. You should get into real estate." And I'm like, "Man, no, what do I know about real estate? So I'm not going to do that." And he said, "Dude, if you sell one house, you can make like 3 or 4 grand." Of course, we're in an area where that's like, houses are 120, 130 on average. And I'm like, shit, 3 or 4 hours. I don't care what we're doing. I said, "Where do I sign up?" So I took some of my last bit of money, went and took the test, got my license, and we'll get more into the story. But that's how I ended up in this career. Like there was no, it's funny to tell it now, but there was like back then, if you could see where I was and like how I ended up here, it's like to me now where I'm sitting here, I'm like, this was fate, man. I was meant to be sitting in this chair today talking to you and sharing this story and the things that have led me to where I am. But at the time, and I had no idea, where I was gonna end up, and then when I got into real estate, that I'd actually be here. Before we jump forward, I'm sure you've got a lot of questions for me. It started like everything, like the success trajectory for me, like this path towards greater life and more success and more money, etc. It really started after getting the real estate business. I picked up this book. I'm sure everyone's heard of it, Think and Grow Rich, right? My grandpa tried pushing this thing on me for years, always talking about goals, etc. And I'm like one ear and out the other. But I picked up this book, the first book I seriously had read, man, like cover to cover, like a nonfiction type book. Since I can never remember. But I sat down, I read this thing in my house. I remember cracking it open. It was like that book, man, the light bulb went off for me. And I started to realize right then and there, because I read this thing cover to cover at night. I read it like 3 times over the next week. Like I couldn't get enough of it. Because it finally revealed to me like why I was where I was, why I had what I had, and what ultimately had to change in my life to get to a different place. And so from there, I set a goal for myself the first year in real estate to make $500,000, and I made $12,000. So I missed my goal a little bit, but it was just. But I got to tell people, I'm like, it revealed to me that I didn't truly believe I was going to hit it, but it caused me to do things that I probably would have done, took in actions that I wouldn't have probably taken otherwise, and just started trusting in this process of the positive thinking and all that. I mean, it is what it is, right? You can't sit around and think yourself into success, really. But the way that I changed my attitude and my outlook on life, I cut out like 95% of people in my life overnight. Started setting goals, following them religiously, and here we are today. So that's how I ended up here, man. And that is the beginning of I would think, because I'm biased, it's my own story, but it's a pretty interesting story of how we ended up here. But that's the beginning of it. So
yeah, no, I love it, dude. So all right, so your first year you make 12 grand, and I mean your average realtor makes 10,000 their first year. So I mean it's you're kind of on par, but then they never then pick up steam. I mean 90% of realtors drop out in the first 3 years. So you pick up this book, you start turning things around. What were some of those instant things that you turned around, other than getting clarity on your goals, but as far as tactical strategy, what were some things between like year 1 and year 2 that you started turning around in your business that really started to help your business escalate?
Cool. So there's this process I like to talk about when I'm talking to realtors. I'd say I call it the realtor's journey. So where I was at in that first couple of years is where everyone's, like you mentioned, right? Everyone kind of starts out in that first year to 3 years. And I call it the hope stage, right? Because we're just always hoping. We're hoping we get paid. We're hoping we can find a client. We're hoping that like something just works out for us. We've got no skill sets. Hopefully we've got a positive mindset, because if not, you ain't going to make it through the hope stage, right? That book was the only thing and having that positive mindset was the only thing that got me through having a $12,000 a year. It's not like my next year was that much better. I mean, it was like 30,000. So I kind of got in this place where I was like, let's just double up. So if we can keep doubling, eventually it's going to equal something. But in that first stage of the hope, because we don't have any skill sets, we have no clients, we have really little, if any, experience. It is a rough start for most people. And then in order to make this transition, and I didn't really realize this until probably the last 2 or 3 years, like when I look back over my career and realized that for every industry, really, any salesperson in any industry, but especially realtors, there is a stage by stage process. So you come in and you're in this stage of hope. And then from there, what has to happen is you have to gain some skill sets, right? So I went out and started, attending seminars, reading every type of sales book I could, because that was really the first skill set that I tried to acquire, was the skill of selling. Right. So, I mean, anything I could think of. And I used to roll for 6 months straight. My wife hated it, but I wouldn't listen to the radio in my car. I used to roll around and listen to Brian Tracy's, like, The Psychology of Selling, or whatever it was. It was like a seminar he put on, right? So I just listened to this thing over and over and over again. Read every one of Zig Ziglar's books. I mean, on a sales like kick, right? This is all I dove into. On top of that, I had met Michael Mayer. Some people may or may not know who he is. I'm sure he's pretty well known in this community, but I haven't seen him in years, so I'm not sure what he's up to these days. But I met him in St. Louis, Missouri at a little mastermind event, and picked up his book, The 7 Levels of Communication, and started implementing some of the buy referral only type strategies in correlation with the sales strategy. So what started to happen then was I was sitting down with my headset on, cold calling nonstop. Started picking up the scripts. I was watching dudes on YouTube, Derek Lipsky, Kevin Ward, like some of these videos, right? Like I'm like watching people do listing presentations and make cold calls, and I studied this stuff hardcore. And what happened was, so for you go from this hope stage of not knowing anything, then you go into this next stage of hustling. And this stage lasted for about 3 to 4 years for me, where in the hope stage, I always tell people your biggest, like, you've got all the time in the world because you're not spending it with clients, right? So the only thing you're truly concerned about is money. Then I ended up in this hustling stage where, things really started to take off for me. This is where in this stage I hit my first 6-figure year. And, so all of a sudden you're making more of it than you ever have. You've gained some skill sets. You still got the mindset. But ultimately what started to happen for me in that stage was I lost all my time. Right, I had my first child in this stage, got married in this stage, and I really got to a place where I almost started to resent the very thing that I used to desire, which was the money, which was the business, which was this notoriety as being a mover and shaker in the community and in this business. And so we were just talking about this, Josh, before the call. This is where I had met my first mentor. Before then, I'd gone to some seminars, I'd read books. I could consider guys like Brian Tracy my mentor, but I had never met these gentlemen, right? I had no idea who any of these people genuinely were outside of the books and the content that they had created that I consumed. So in this stage, I went out and I hired my first mentor, somebody to come in. And at the time, it wasn't really about, I thought I had a lot of shit figured out about business. I'm like, hey, man, this is how this real estate game is run. You just got to hustle, call, right? And spend all your time, days and nights, weekends, working the whole nine, right? I was doing everything by myself, putting up my own signs, taking my own photos, making my own calls, doing my own follow-up, everything, right? Listings, buyers, the whole nine. And there were days, man, where I would sit here in my office and have like pure panic attacks, like just to the point where I'm not shitting you. If you can see under my desk here, I would like hide under my desk, shut my door and like hide under my desk. It sounds weird as hell, but I would need moments where I'd have to breathe and like escape from like the calls and the people coming in and like everything. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? At that time, like I said, I had got myself a mentor, and they helped me like understand what was it, like how to get my life back into balance. And not only that, teach me what the next thing I needed to know, which was to take me from that hustle stage up to where we would call the third stage in this business of I call it highly paid, right? So what I had was obviously I had to increase my skill sets again. Had the skill sets of selling. Now we had to understand the skill sets of marketing. Right. And not only that, we had to understand how to automate things, how to delegate, how to eliminate certain tasks, basically how to get your time back, but to continue to make more money. And so what I did was brought in internet marketing coaches, brought in, I guess you could say, quote unquote, life coaches. He'd probably punch me in the face if you heard me call him that. But for the most part, it was, help me out with my marriage, help me get, back in touch with my fitness and how to become a marketer who knew how to sell, who just happened to market and sell real estate. And really for me, that's where, I learned how to generate my own leads. I learned how to take control of my marketing, how to create a perception in the marketplace, which allowed me to collapse time and start to become this guy who was known for getting all the results. So in a nutshell, man, like those were the skill sets that ultimately I required. We can certainly dive into more of that because when it comes to marketing and shit, like I'll talk all day about it. But like that's where I've been doing this, like you said, since 2009, man. So this will be my 8th year in September. Is when I started in this business in 2009. So this will be my 8th year. And over the last 2.5, 3, I moved myself in a position. Once I acquired these skill sets of marketing and began to hustle on the side of marketing every single day, moved ourselves in a position where, now the top producing agent in the marketplace, selling more real estate, by far than anyone else. And honestly, I have way more time. I never work weekends. I don't take buyers out. I vacation 6 times a year, and I enjoy this more than I ever have. And again, I've got 3 kids now, so I've been busy on that side as well. And so where my business is today and where it was, like, still sometimes even blows my mind. But the fact is, we're making 10x what I was making at that point, and I've got 10 times the free time that I used to. So it's blessed these days, man. No complaints.
So to give everybody kind of an idea of, because I know your business, we were just talking, is up, hundreds of % of what it was that last year. I mean, what are you on track to do this year? It's close to like 300 units, isn't it?
Yeah. So right now we're on track to do about 245. I'll tell you exactly, man. We've got 66 homes that we've sold thus far this year or put under contract to close. And that's just in the first quarter. So if you did times that out by 4, it says 264. So we'll see.
And you're in a small towns too, right? Like 60,000 people? Or what's your overall
market? Yeah, no, it's only about oh, there you are. So you cut out a little bit. Yeah, man, we're in a town of about 45,000, give or take, man. So there's some towns outside of us, but we're about 45,000 right now. Total market share, we're about 18%.
Wow.
So, yeah, man, we're up there. That's up over about 8% over last year. I was holding about 10 last year. So.
Yep. So I want to rewind because I got, of course, a ton of questions from, marketing, branding, to getting that type of market share to a lot of things. But I know off air we talked about, hiring that mentor and that financial investment, because it wasn't just, okay, hey, I'm going to go hire Tom Ferry and pay him $500 a month, right? Like, this was a big chunk of money. Kind of talk about that, and then like how because you got to take a huge leap of faith. I mean, I know dudes making $1 million a year that won't go out there and stroke a $25,000 check, for a mentor. So kind of talk to us, like, what was happening and how did you know it was right to make that type of an investment?
Yeah, cool. So one thing I will say, and I truly believe this, and it was just something that wasn't even really a revelation for me until probably the last year, this last like 12 months, when I started to realize that sometimes I think the reason why those guys who have the $1 million guys, right, who won't cut that type of check, because they put a lot more emphasis on the money. I got to be honest, to me, none of this has ever been about the money. I mean, it was in the home stage because I didn't have any. Right? When we're all probably been broke at one point. You, me, and everyone else probably listening to this. If they're not now, they have been at some point in their life, right? Like when you're broke, like money, like not having money, like that's your obsession, right? Like, how do I get money? But when you start to have it, you realize that it's not even really the money that I think you're truly obsessed with. It's the freedom that money can provide you, right? That you can do things you couldn't do before. And I think that's really ultimately what I was always chasing. So I had no real emotional attachment to money. Right, which makes me a really good investor in everything else, because I'm like, shit, what do I care if I lose it? That's just money, right? But at the time, so what was going on in my life, man? I in 2012, 2013, I lose track of my years these days. I think it was 2013. I had ended up in 2012. My daughter was born, right? So from June of 2012. So June of 2012 up until January of 2013, I think is when I attended the Traffic and Conversion Summit. At the time, it was held out in San Francisco. And so I got talked into going with this dude who I met one time at a different event. And I'm like, hey, man, if you ever go out to events, hit me up. I'm all about traveling and whatever. And I can remember it was in December. This dude calls me up. Let me just I'm going to get kind of deep with your audience here a little bit, because I truly believe, man, that this universe has like big plans for each one of us if you just pay attention. So this dude hits me up in December, and I'm like, dude, this Trey guy's calling me. I step outside. It's cold as shit. And I'm talking to him, and he's like, hey, man, I'm getting ready to go to this event out in San Francisco next month. You said to call you. He said, I'm calling you first. Little fucking liar, right? He wasn't. I didn't figure this out until years later. But he said, I'm calling you first. He said, so you want to go? I said, man, I'm in. I didn't even ask. He's like, you don't even care what it is? I don't care, man. What is it? $600? I'm in. So I said, okay, cool. So I'll go back in and tell my wife. I said, hey, hey, by the way, next month I'm going to San Francisco with Trey. And she's like, who? And I'm like, Trey, Trey. I met Trey the other day, anyways, she had no idea who he was, right? So here I am going out to San Francisco, dude, I'd never met before, to a Traffic and Conversion Summit, which I had no idea what that even meant. And years later, I found out that if do you know Sean Lynham by chance?
I do, yep.
Okay, so Sean's really cool. All right, cool. So Sean's a real good friend of mine. I thought you did. And so Sean was actually supposed to be at this event. Trey actually asked him first. But because Notre Dame went to the national championship that year, Sean canceled on him. And I ended up out at this event. So Trey called me, right? Second, little bastard. But I'm thank God for him, right? So I ended up at this event, and I remember walking around, and like these guys were talking about like setting up tripwires and building funnels and internet marketing, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here, right? Like my phone's blowing up, business is crazy. I started to a certain extent start instantly regretting the fact that I came there, just trying to enjoy it, but people are like, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, I sell houses. I'm like, what do you guys do? They're like, oh, I'm a mindset coach, and I'm this, and I sell products online. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? So anyways, as I ended up going to CrossFit with this crazy bastard named Garrett J. White. And at the time, some of your audience may know who he is. I know you do. We both went through his Warrior program. At the time, he was just rolling out the first Warrior program. And, he's a hell of a salesman, a hell of a marketer himself. And he took me out to breakfast one day and tried to sell me into this mastermind. 25,000, right? I told you that whenever we're sitting at breakfast, and when he told me the amount of it, I'm like, oh my God. I only made $77,000 in 2012, right? So, and sitting here in January, knowing that that is 1/3 of what I made, right? So I'm sitting here going, oh man, if I cut you a $25,000, I don't even have 25,000, but if I even agree to pay you that, my wife's gonna kill me when I get home, So anyhow, I left there. I didn't sign up for it, but for some reason, when I went home, this voice inside of me was like, again, it started bubbling up again. It was like, I hit Garrett up 6 months later. Let's put it this way. At that time, this is during this 6-month period of time is when I started having these panic attacks, when the business was running crazy, man. I was all by myself wearing a million hats. I felt like I was coming, I was leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was getting home at, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. Was not any time with my daughter, my wife. I felt like this huge disconnection was going on at home. I couldn't put my finger on what was really happening, but I knew something was off. So I hit Garrett up on Facebook, and I'm like, man, I have no idea what you do. I really didn't. But I'm like, I feel like the universe was speaking to me, and I just wasn't listening. And so whatever it is you do, I'd love to have a conversation. Of course, he sent me the link, went through all the funnel, went through his videos, filled out his form, hopped on a coaching call with him, and right then and there, he was talking, and I said, bro, I don't care what the hell you're doing. I'm in. I said, what do I got to give you? And he says, 25,000. I said, cool. And people, it still blows people's mind, it was a big leap of faith. I didn't have 25,000, but I promised to pay him, and I did, every penny. As a matter of fact, I even went to the next mastermind level up at the time, what they called Syndicate, which was a 50 grand investment to hang out with all $1 million guys, right? Like you're saying. And for me, being a person who at that point had never even made 100 grand in a year, to be hanging around people who were making millions was an opportunity of a lifetime for me. And I said, man, if I can just get around these people, I feel like the investments, the loan of that being around these people and having access to them, is enough. So I made that investment in him, and that's where, and then from there is where we really started to pick up on these internet marketing ideas and the things that I've really began to implement in my business, have been implementing in my business for the last 4 years. And it's a thing that ultimately, I always tell people, the cool thing about, most people think you have to be in this business. If there's people watching this right now who have been selling real estate for 1, 2, 3, maybe even 5 years, and you feel like you're still struggling, you think, well, man, if I can just hang out and stick around in this business for another 10, 15 years, right, then I'll be at the level these other agents are at in my marketplace. I can assure you, if you creating a perception can collapse time, right? So if you can create a certain perception in your marketplace, and this isn't a false perception, you got to tell people who you really are, but if you can create this perception, then ultimately that's what allowed me to collapse time. I was able to leapfrog everybody in my marketplace because I was in front of everybody in a million different ways, from email, from Facebook ads, video and text, these funneling systems, text and voice broadcast campaigns. I built all of these things out where, no matter where people were, I was, and just again hustled it on the internet marketing side of things for 4 years, and I could do that from anywhere. Which was the coolest thing about it. And ultimately from there, I guess again the rest is kind of history. But the team was built after that. I was calling myself the Adam Stark Home Selling Team before I even had a team. It was like me and this gal at the time I'd hired to do my work. But that's ultimately what led me to hiring the mentor. For more than anything, it really wasn't about business because I thought I was good on the money front. I'm like, man, I made 77 grand, and this year I should make at least 100 and something. That year I did make about 150, so I had my first 6-figure year. But it was more things in my personal life, things that I was neglecting, that drove me to reach out and ultimately hire a mentor. Because I was really trying to master myself. Like, man, if I could just master me, everything else should be easy, right? Because if you've noticed, and I'm sure you have with people on your call or realtors you work with, we tend to be self-sabotaging creatures, right? Even if we know the right things to do, sometimes it's hard to do it for whatever reason. We're working off of all these bad habits. And that's where I was at. I just had too many bad habits. I couldn't quite figure out, why my life wasn't working the way I really truly felt it should. And so that's ultimately why I reached out. And again, it was the best decision I ever made. Plus, it just showed me that if I was willing to take that type of leap of faith in myself, if you have that type of faith in yourself, man, nothing can stop you. I truly believe that. So
yeah, I love it, man. So and again, I know we'll get into more of the real estate tactical strategies and marketing and all of that here shortly. But I'm really curious. Like you said that you kind of had some internal stuff that just fell off, dude. And I'm a huge believer, and I always preach this, that there's so many things that create success for us in real estate and all business that have nothing to do with actual real estate, right? Like our health, like our relationships with those people that matter, and like what was kind of going on at that time outside of real estate that you felt like wasn't giving that success, and then what happened after that experience when you were leveling up in those areas that then helped you really go chips all in real estate?
I think, and I'm sure you agree, because this was a principle taught to me by Gary, which is how we do one thing is how we do everything. And, so I really started to take that in consideration in the way that I approached, fitness in my life again. I mean, I was an athlete growing up, between wrestling and I'd get some, MMA in my younger days. I'd done a lot of different things, football, the whole nine, but I really let myself kind of go in this, as far as my body goes while being in this business. I just neglected things at home, and ultimately what was starting to happen was I was neglecting the most important things even in my business. So basically it's very simple, man. We live by a basic simple code these days, which is, there's basically what I was always taught. There's 4 core areas of your life, right? You've got your body, your physical body, right? You've got your being, your spirit, your beingness, your spirituality. You've got your business, which is where we make our money and we do our thing on this side. And then ultimately you've got your balance, your family, your kids, etc., your relationships, the most important ones in your life. And so what I did then was just began to stop, because at the time I was only focusing all my goals on my business, right? When I said I set goals, or I had targets, or I had these things I was chasing, it was all about money. It was just about how can I do more business. I was basically, my self-worth was based upon what I could create in my business. And it wasn't about going out and growing these other areas of my life. So started hitting the gym every day. For me, it was CrossFit. That's what I started getting back into, started competing in those events. I started setting myself up for these, what we did was 90-day challenges, right? Which is like, hey, here's what I'm going to accomplish in the next 90 days. How am I going to make it happen in my body? Here's what I want to have with my wife. Here's truly the relationship I want to have with her and my kids. And what do I have to do to create that? And then from all those things, man, it pushed me, it caused me to level up. And probably more than anything, I'm very vocal. Right. So I would put it out on Facebook, like, here's what I'm doing. And if you ever want to really put yourself in a position where you got to show up and do the shit you said you're going to do, make it public. Tell people what you're going to do. Don't be afraid to speak about it. Because when you have a goal in your mind, or even if you write it on paper, but you don't tell anyone, it's almost like you're afraid to say it, because now you're going to be held accountable for the words you said. And for me, I knew, when I walked into CrossFit the first day, I came in. A matter of fact, where is that? This guy, one of the CrossFit owners, just sent me a letter. I have no idea where I placed that thing, but he sent me a letter the other day and was like, he was like, hey man, just want to thank you, because I've been with this gym since day one. There was 5 of us at the time. Now they've really grown to a pretty massive gym here in town. And he sent me this letter. He said, I still remember the first day you walked in, and I slapped down, it was like $700 to pay for the first full 6 months. He's like, you came in with cash and slapped it on the table, and you're like, take it, otherwise I may not come back. And so I'm like, I signed up for 6 months and committed myself to that. And I was like, I'm here. I want to get in shape, and I want to compete in an event, right? So that's what I did. For my marriage, still to this day, if you follow me on Facebook, you'll notice right now, we're doing date nights every week. We track it, we go to different places. We've hired babysitters, and even that's leveled up. So investing in these other areas of my life caused me to create these habits of setting targets, working towards them, looking for the simple shit. It's usually the simplest things that will lead to the biggest results, right? Doing the simple things every day. And I don't have a running goal list of a million things. Where my business really turned the corner, just to put it in perspective, right? We've got 3 things that we're after every single year. I'm looking at 3 key indicators, rather. There's a lot of things that go into that. But basically, I'm looking at, hey, here's the number, here's the total volume, here's the GCI, and here's the units we want to do. That's it, right? Just focus on these 3 things. That's all we're focused on. with our marriage. I mean, you'd be crazy to, or surprised rather, to think how crazy like results you can get just from sending flowers randomly each month, right? Going on date nights every single week, planning individual vacations with my spouse. You know, I make sure we do 3 every single year. We get away, just me and her. That was things that we never did before. And it's just, I mean, because of that, because I'm able to get away and invest in these things, it like frees up this space, and it gives me the capacity I need to come in and handle and take on more of my business. So meditation, the gym, you know, these things help me relieve stress. And again, it creates capacity for me to take on more. It's not just the real estate business we're doing. I've got, you know, we do flip projects. We do a lot of remodel and flips. You probably can't see this over here, but I've got like my investor business daily, all my books on stock market. I've been trading in securities. Like, it's just a new a hobby of mine, but I've been doing it for about a year now. So it's super fun to just focus some attention on that. I've done coaching, and we built digital products. I've done so many things over the years, but I never, looking back and going, man, at the time I was having all these panic attacks, I wasn't doing shit. I was selling like 30 homes a year, you know, and to look at it now and go, well, now we're on track to do almost 270 homes. But I feel freer than I've ever felt. So investing in all these other areas of your life, it all ties together, right? You can't just be successful in your body. You can't just be this fit dude who goes to the gym all day, every day and eats healthy. That's cool, man. You're all ripped up, but you're fucking broke. What does it matter? Your relationships are shit, right? Or you can't just go home and be Mr. Dad and Mr. Husband all the time and neglect everything else because now you're overweight and you're broke still. You can't be in your business. You end up divorced. Your kids hate you. And, you know, so living a well-balanced life, while it may take you longer, honestly, I'd say probably, you know, it'd probably take me longer to get to a financial standpoint as some of those people who only focus on their business, but we'll get there in a much better place, right? I'm going to get there with my health, with my family, and we all get to enjoy the ride, you know, together. So all things are tied together. Don't, like, anyone watching this, man, you know this, bro. I know you preach this to people. Like, it all is connected. So how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Time out. Joshua Smith here at GSD Studios. I need to take a quick pause to give our sponsors a quick shout out that make all this possible. Our first sponsor is my personal 90-day mastery bootcamp. This is my personal mentorship training program where I give you everything I do inside my business. You get my entire playbook. We have 12 live 3+ hour long sessions. In addition to a ton of different bonus content, you get daily access to me. There's nothing I withhold from you guys inside this program. You get my entire playbook that's helped me sell thousands and thousands and thousands of homes. You get all my tracking forms, presentations, scripts, checklists, team contracts. There's nothing you don't get access to. This is hands down the most effective and affordable real estate training program on the planet. So make sure you check us out at www.90daymastery.com. You can check out boot camp dates. You can check out testimonials, more in-depth information. If you decide to register, make sure to enter live mastery, all caps, all one word, all together. That'll save you 500 bones. So you can get the whole entire program for only $997 or 3 payments of $333. Our next sponsor is PerfectStormNow.com. PerfectStormNow.com is an insanely effective lead generation website for realtors and now offers a website and CRM combo with all my custom personal follow-up drips inside there, some of which go out 1,000 plus days. We've made it where this is dummy proof, you guys. Any type of a lead generation tactic you can think of, from expireds, FSBO, sign calls, open houses, past clients, everything is in there. It's a plug and play system. And this system really is as powerful, if not more powerful in my opinion. I'm a little biased, but as powerful as the $1,000 a month programs out there, and it's only $199 per month. So again, check us out, www.perfectstormnow.com. Our third sponsor is EMF. Optimized Life Nutrition has created the most powerful nootropic on the planet called EMF. EMF stands for Energy, Memory, Focus. So if you're like me and you want to have insane energy, improved memory, and extreme intense focus, this is the best product money can buy. I take it every single day and the results are insane. I've massively improved energy, memory, focus, mood, awareness, and like you've heard me say in the past, we've had clients that even say it enhances sex. We've had talked to people that have reduced anxiety. The supplement is insane. Check us out. Learn more at www.optimizeLifeNutrition.com. optimizedlifenutrition.com. Lastly, if you're like myself and our whole entire crew here at GSD Studios and my real estate team, make sure you check out our apparel line, right? We got t-shirts, men's t-shirts, women's t-shirts. We got our hat line that if you're watching this might be available at this point. The hats are in production right now. We're going to be adding a lot of different apparel, so make sure to check that out. And then also, if you're not already, make sure to jump into the GSD Mode Facebook private group. For example, inside there, you guys, we post all of our interviews to make sure that you're not missing out on any interviews. We're going to be doing some votes for future apparel, some Facebook Live stuff. So it's a free private mastermind that you can jump in to go out there, learn, grow, and continue kicking ass and succeeding. All right, that's enough of the interruptions. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah, and then it's like, what's the point of getting there, dude? If those that are important to you aren't there with you, you know what I mean? It's just not worth it. So I love that, man. So and that's why I wanted you to go deep on that, because I couldn't agree more, dude. It's like, I remember at one point I was the guy that was so damn focused on my business, working 100 plus hours a week, neglecting my wife, and I had no idea if I was going to go home to divorce papers or not every day. And it's very difficult to negotiate contracts when you have that going on and you don't have the support from your family. I mean, it's something a lot of people that struggle if they're not intentional. So, all right, dude. So you're going to these different seminars, you're learning a lot of different digital marketing, which is something no realtors do. And I don't know what your experience with this is, but like this next week, I'm going to the IHRSA convention, which is the largest health and fitness equipment distribution convention in the country. And that's one of the spaces I'm in. But I'll sit for 2 days straight in health and fitness classes, right? And I'll learn more from those health and fitness classes that apply to my real estate business than I ever do going to any damn real estate conference, right? And I find that same thing to be true when I go to an Infusionsoft summit or whatever it may be. So you're doing those. How do you then take that information, come back to your real estate business, because they're totally untraditional things? Because I'm guessing at that point you're still an independent agent, right? You then implement this stuff. And then you start taking off to the next level. We have to start growing a team. So what do you start implementing, and what started just taking you to that next level?
Cool. So great question. So the very first thing I started to do was back in those days. 4 years ago, right? Facebook was completely different than even it is today. So what you used to be able to do organically, and you can still pull it off. The strategy is a little bit more entailed nowadays than it was then, because Facebook obviously is trying to drive everybody, as you know, to run ads. I mean, they got to keep their shareholders happy, right? So they got to generate revenue, and the only way to do that is to get people to, if you want to actually get the exposure, you got to pay to play with Facebook these days. But back then, 4 years ago, well, you could still run ads, I'm sure, but I wasn't doing that when I started out. I was kind of doing more of an organic strategy. So what I used to call it was this bulletproof formula, right? Where it started out with me posting photos of always after, right? Was how do I create this perception, and what perception do I really want to create? Which was I want everyone to think that I'm the guy who gets results, right? So I saw a lot of agents who would post up their listings or share stuff from like Realtor.com or from these other articles, and there was little to no engagement. Because nobody really cared about that. But what I started to post up was like the strategy was I would post up, let's say today, Josh, I got your home under contract, right? And I used to just make a text post of just saying, hey, congrats, Joshua Smith. I'd tag you in it. For the accepted contract on your home, look forward to seeing you at the closing table, yada, yada, right, whatever. Well, 2 weeks later, right, we know we've gotten through ourselves through inspections or whatever it was, I'd send my runner out to stick the sign in the yard, the sold sign, take a photo, and then bring it back. And then I'd make another post in a couple of weeks of going, hey, congrats, Joshua Smith, right, on the successful contract on your home. Look forward to seeing you, at the closing table. Again, it was a photo pic, opposed to the text, and then later we're at the closing, taking a picture with the sold sign, and we would do it that way. And I'd take another, and then we posted, hey, congrats, Joshua Smith, for the successful closing, right? So the marketplace would see that, for me, I know that's one person that I was able to leverage 3 times. But the marketplace would think that I was selling 3 homes. So at the time, I was doing maybe 3 to 4 sales a month, give or take. And so that was giving me anywhere between 9 to 12 posts every single month, and I would just run them mostly during the week. I was tagging people, and first I found out, like, hey, first I wasn't in the photos. I was just shooting photos of people, and then I'm like, well, maybe I should actually be in these photos, right? I'm like, I need people to know who I am. And then I started realizing as I tagged people, because I wasn't tagging us in the photos at first, I was just typing the names. Then I was getting more engagement. I'm like, why don't I pull in the title person, the lender, right? Anyone else I can, like pull them into the photo. And all of a sudden we had like this big row of people. I don't do it so much anymore because again, the strategy's changed slightly. But I had this big row of people. I'm tagging like everybody, you know, and trying to get all this engagement. And I realized that stuff started working when I started getting private messages from people going, hey, it looks like you're selling all the houses. I picked up this tag, the hashtag of sold is how I roll, right? I had that. So I still wrote, you know, put that on my post. And people were like, hey, you know, it caught on. And I started having people, when I'd go to CrossFit, people were like, dude, it looks like you're selling a house every single day. And it kind of makes you smile in the back of your mind when you have this like idea and you put it to work and like it comes, like it works out the way you thought it would. And this is what started happening. So those were the beginning strategies for me. I was also running a lot of direct mail, always targeting the low-hanging fruit of for sale by owners, expireds of for sale by owners. I picked up, you know, the power guarantees of, you know, I'll sell your home in so many days or I'll buy it, you know, that sort of thing. So I was running that whole program in conjunction with this. And I remember when I went to the, kind of going back here just a little bit, after doing all this stuff on the Facebook side and going out to Garrett's mastermind the first time, and this time it was in Gilbert, Arizona when he was running this. He was still living in Arizona at the time. I remember being in this room again. This was another moment where I almost like rebooked my flight early and bounced out because I'm like, dude, this is like, what am I doing here? I had actually thought I'd wasted 25 grand. I was like, oh my God, dude, I've wasted $25,000 and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Because we were talking about building out funnels, Wufoo pages, like running ads, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So the very first thing I ever did was you ever seen that show Home Improvement, Mr. Wilson or whatever his name was, that had like that thing, you can only see like the top half of his face, right? So we went out and we held these signs. Yeah, so we went out to the middle of this, out in the parking lot of the hotel. We took one of these big signs. It was like literally the size of my body, and we're just kind of holding it over our face. This shows you at that time, even reminds me like how much Garrett didn't know about Facebook ads, because we drew on there, like my handwriting looks like a freaking 2-year-old. And so I drew on there like, I'll sell your home in 79 days or less, or I'll buy it guaranteed, you know, sold inside, whatever. So I'm holding this sign up. It looks horrible. You can't run Facebook ads with 20%, you know, of text on there, right? So my ad got killed pretty quickly. But I launched this thing. I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. I launched it when I got home. I think I'd spent like $5 on a Facebook ad, right? Like we put $5 behind it and boosted it or something like that. And when I got home, I actually had someone that filled out the damn form. And I got the listing. I sold it myself. It was just like a little $100,000 listing, but it was like $6 grand in commissions to me on a $5 ad spend. And again, that's when the light bulb went off and I said, dude, there's something to this. All right, because if I can do this with $5, what could I do with 25? What could I do with 50 or 100? Right. And then from there, again, of course, I got more and more in tune with the skill sets of marketing and how to build these funnels and how to get myself on video and how to do a lot of these different things. But those were the initial like beginning strategies. They're very basic, very simplistic. The funnel was essentially a link to a form, and that was it. Right. Nowadays, they're a little more complex. Without drawing it out on a board and really going through it all, it'd probably be difficult to explain to your audience just watching this video. But if you get a chance, you can certainly go to my page and check out the Adam Stark Home Selling System. It's a page that I run for my real estate stuff. You can go through my funnels if you like. Maybe I shouldn't say that. You got a big audience. My lead forms might be blowing up, but you know, you can go there. You can go there and check it out and see what I do, because it's way more complex. These days, we're running home price evaluation ads with me on video, so a lot of video ads that generate. I mean, that's one that I run every single month. I just consistently keep it running. I put about $500 behind it. We'll pull about 7 to 10 listings off that thing every single month. I've got nurture campaigns built out, so even the ones we don't, I've got automated voice broadcast and text and email campaigns along with direct mail. They go out to these people today. We run our showcase listing ads. We do that Matterport camera thing, so we do like these 3D digital ads. We'll run like a click the website and a video post on all those as well. So I am constantly running. And people always ask, it sounds like I'm doing so much that like it would cost 10 grand a month. I'm probably spending about $1,200 to $1,500 a month via Facebook. But again, I started small. As I got ROI, I just began to build and scale it out. And so anytime we do like those sold posts or any of that, like I'm always running 3 to 4 different ads at any given time, at all times. I've got a new listing ad running. I've got my home price evaluation ad running. I've got a under contract post running and a sold post. So people are always saying, oh, hey, Adam's got a new listing. Adam's, you know, here's him again on video, and maybe in multiple different ways. Here's one that he put under contract, and here he is at a closing table. Holy shit, right? And it's just, I mean, my page reaches about 35 to 40,000 people a week in my local market, which is freaking everybody. You know, that's my market. So every single week, I'm just constantly pumping out. And anyone who ends up in the spider web, you know, over the last couple of years, I've built, you know, a database, an email database in a phone on call loop, right, of about 3,000 people. I drive people now into private groups like you have one, your GSD mode page, right? Like it's a private group on Facebook. I built those out for buyers and drive my buyer traffic into those. It's actually how we double in and sell a shit ton of real estate ourselves, because we've got over 900 people back in this private group. So anytime we get a listing, we get our professional photographers out, our 3D tours done, all that. And we start to post and market to this group about a week before it hits the market. And we sell so much real estate through this page, it's insane. And just the notoriety. I mean, it's kind of, it really became a 2 or 3-fold deal running these ads. One, we generate leads, of course. 2, we pick up new clients. But more than even that, I think, people like, it's weird, man, because it's not an arrogant thing, but I go places like we went and bought some new furniture the other day. We went one place to get some for our kids because it's a little furniture factory outlet. It's like cheap shit, for kids. There's no reason to get the high dollar stuff. But we go in there and we walk up to the counter, and she's writing my stuff down, and she goes, "Are you the real estate guy? Are you the guy on Facebook?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." Say, "Hey, how are you?" And then we end up over at the next furniture store. Me and my wife bought a new furniture set, and the guy literally mentioned the same thing. So everywhere we go, man, people know who I am because of this. And I mean, that's really what that's really what the goal is of all marketing, right? Is we want everyone to know who we are, what our offers are, what we do, and ultimately we're able to create that perception. And because I just keep doubling down, man, on my ads, everything just keeps increasing. I keep trying to reach a larger and larger audience as things just keep working. Sometimes people ask me what the formula is, and I'm like, honestly, sometimes I don't even know. I mean, I'm being honest. When it comes to, I know all the things that we do. And I know it's a successful formula, not just for me, but for other people. But it's I kind of stumbled upon just the creation of it, and it just really works. But again, I wouldn't be as successful as I am if I didn't create, the skill sets of selling in the very beginning. I mean, look back over my entire career, everything happened the way it should, in the order that it should have, for me to be in this position, for all these things to work as well as they do. Because I mean, if I was a person who just walked in day one and began to run ads, you're going to get leads, but can you sell, right? Can you actually convert that lead? Do you know how to actually build the system out to filter people in the right way? And if you do get someone in from a lead, do you know how, if it's a listing, do you know how to price the property correctly and do the listing presentation? Do you know how to collect fees on the upfront and back end side? Do you know how to get the higher commissions? You know what I mean? There's certain things that just, you'll never be as effective in this business as you should be, without garnering, getting those skill sets of selling and ultimately working your way up, I think, to the marketing place. Because I see a lot of gurus and a lot of coaches out there, and a lot of people, pumping up and promoting these funnels and the marketing and everything else. And it's great. It's good stuff. And I'm glad that the marketplace is catching on. But I think that sometimes that skill set of selling is where I think a lot of people miss the boat. But yeah, that's that in a very small nutshell, small as I can do it anyways. That is what we've been doing. That's at least myself for the last 4 years. And how I think I built my entire business is via Facebook, and direct mail, of course, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. And I love the point that you brought up about the, marketing just one side of the coin. Then you've got the actual skill set for your listing presentation, buyer presentation. It's like, if you think of it like, okay, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, and that's my marketing piece. And then think of the other as your diet. If they don't come together, you don't have that success, right? So I got a couple follow-up questions. Number one, we kind of cut out when you said what your website was. What's the name of your website?
Well, I was telling people if they can go to my Facebook page, which is the Adam Stark Home Selling System. So when it comes to, and this is another thing, and people always ask me, what's my website? I don't have one. I don't have a real estate search website. It's something that I keep going back and forth on. I've never needed it, man. You can, if you know how to run and promote that stuff, it's great. If you don't, then you're just gonna have a website sitting out there that nobody's really visiting. How are you gonna beat Zillow and Realtor and Trulia.com and all that? Right? How are you gonna beat these people? Because you're not gonna show up on Google unless you're paying, right? If you don't know how to pay ads, then you're gonna be paying more than you probably should, because you're gonna be paying someone else to do it for you. So how is anyone gonna find the website? I mean, it's cool if you got a good fancy website. Your clients are gonna look and go, "Where's your website?" They want to see it, right? We've got a company one, but don't send anyone there. Like, that's not what we do here, right? Most of my websites, you can go to workwithadam.com. You can go to 79days.com, VIPbuyerprograms.com. I've set up my own websites, but they're all essentially sales funnels, right? That's all they really are. So it's not a website where you're going to go and find property. It's a website where you're going to go and find me on a video, right? Directing you through a systematic filtering process right? Ultimately leading you to lead capturing forms and give me all the information I need to know that when that lead comes through, like of course nowadays I'm not necessarily the one that sits around and makes the calls, but when that lead comes through, we know we've got a real hot prospect waiting there. We've got ISAs, we've got the follow-up campaigns built out, but I don't have like just a traditional go check me out at isellhomes.com. Like that's just not, I just haven't done it. I've tried those. I've done Boomtown, Tiger Leads, and all that stuff. It was overpriced and overrated in my opinion. I figured out how to do the same thing for a fraction of the cost. Maybe not as pretty, right, as their back end systems are and stuff, but I figured out how to get my own leads going without having to pay these companies $2,000-$3,000 a month. I can do the same thing for $200 to $300, right?
Yep.
So
yep, love it, dude. So yeah, and you guys, I highly recommend that you follow Adam on social media because again, man, he's one of those guys I've been following for a long time. He's not up here just blowing smoke, dude. I mean, this is stuff that he practiced what he preaches. So when it comes to your targeted Facebook ads, are you doing custom audience ads, dude? Are those because you're in a 60,000 area? I mean, are you able just to blanket everybody in your city, or are these just straight up custom audience ads?
Yeah, great, fantastic question, Nate. Because this is one that people always ask me too. Like, it really depends on your marketplace, right? So where I'm at, it's 45 to 60,000 people within where I'm sitting right now, which is almost smack dab in the middle of my town. If you go 25 miles out, you're going to have about 70,000 people, right? That's a pretty big radius because I don't even truly cover that 25-mile radius in all areas. So realistically, my market's only about 45, maybe 50,000 max. And so for me, I can on a lot of them, like when it comes to my listing ads, I want to reach as many people as I can with like the new showcase listing. So I'm just going to boost that son of a bitch, and I'm going to put a couple $100 behind it because I'll reach everybody. I go to a radius. I'm not trying to necessarily get too specific on my targeting. If I do, chances are I'm going to end up cutting too many people out. There's no reason to do that. Now on my home price evaluation, my listing ads, well, of course, my target audience is going to be, at least I narrow it down to people who are homeowners, right? I want to find people who actually own a home. So I'm going to target it down to that. Now, when I've taught other people, running ads and all that, I mean, I've run ads to realtors. I'm sure you have as well. So, I mean, there's a little bit more of a skill set to that. I always tell people probably a good rule of thumb to work from, and this is very basic, like this isn't some expert piece of advice, I suppose, but if you had to have like some piece that would, when it comes to your targeting, if you're in an area that has 3 million people, think of it like this. Because this is how it was explained to me. If you were to take, because I've watched a lot of people have I work with people who live in like Kissimmee, Florida, right outside like with the Disney World and all that, and their freaking marketplace is like 3 million people, and they're trying to spend $100 like I was, and they're going, well, how come I'm not getting any leads? I'm going, well, think about it this way: if you had, let's say, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, right, full of water, and you were to take just a little dropper of chlorine, you put a couple of drops in there, like how noticeable is that chlorine going to be? Right, you're not even going to know it's in there. It's going to be like water. Now, if you take the same dropper, you take this bottle of water, and you drop 3 drops into this bottle, and shake it up, and you take a drink. Now, how noticeable is that chlorine going to be? Right? So we think about this bottle of water being the 40, 50,000 people you need to be targeting, and that swimming pool being the 3 million. If you can think about for every 40 to 50,000 people, you're probably going to have to spend anywhere between $100 to $200 to truly impact that particular segment of your market. So if you're selling a home that's $3 million, you may want to go into Facebook and find, exclude the people who are making only 20 grand a year. Those people aren't going to buy that home. So you may, for a home that is not a home that most likely, if you're in a marketplace like mine, a $300,000 home is not going to be a first-time home buyer's house, right? A 5,000 square foot home, like we don't have these tech millionaires around here. These people are going to be established, probably family people, right? So you can target household composition, how many kids they have, what are their age ranges, right? What's their income? Are they homeowners? I mean, you kind of have to think about, you can get super specific, and I have in the past, but since then, in the last couple of years, like I've just blasted everybody, man, because it works so well. I want everyone to know who I am. My goal is I've even expanded my target range because obviously we've begun to move into different marketplaces. So that's been a part of the strategy as well. And as it grows for certain things, you certainly have to get specific. If you're in a marketplace like mine, I wouldn't try to narrow it down to a few thousand people. Nail everybody, because honestly, I get so many referrals from Facebook today of people who've never met me before. Because I basically tell my life story. I mean, not the entirety of everything, but I put a lot of myself out there. People feel like they know me and they see all the business we're doing, and they refer us left and right for people I've never even met before. So I would say that if I could give any advice, keep it to 40 to 50,000 for every $100 to $200 you spend for your target market. If you're in a big area and you've got certain specific types of property, then just, best thing to do is go in and play around with the ad manager. It's not that difficult. The key is really, the hardest part is targeting, knowing how to read some of the conversion rates and stuff you're getting to know is my ad actually working. That might be a little more technical conversation that we probably wouldn't have time for here today. But that's I don't get too specific because I don't have to.
Yeah, love it. So then, all right. So then you're also doing direct mail, man, and with you peppering so many people with social media, like I used to do at one point like 50,000 pieces of direct mail every 21 days. Right? I mean, I was big into direct mail. Was door hangers before EDDM came out, and then I just went heavy in direct mail. But that was before Facebook got really big, right? Yep. And then I found, okay, that frequency, because my frequency with Facebook was so big, I was able to back that off a little bit. What does that look like for you with frequency in your direct mail? And are you hitting everybody in every home in your marketplace?
Yeah, so I'm not hitting every home. So like I said, I only target the low-hanging fruit. My direct mail is not a farming effort. It's not a. I should back that up. My strategy when it started was was for sale by owner and expired, which was a combination of a postcard and a letter system. So I was sending out, let's say day one, your home expires, right? You get a letter from me. And basically what I have is I've got someone here in the office, an admin, who enters the stuff into a Dropbox file, which is shared to the UPS store. And I don't even know who I'm mailing to at the time. So if you ask me right now how many pieces of mail I'm sending, I have no idea. I just get the bill every month, we pay it, and that's it, right? But so what we'll do is like day one, you'll get a letter from me. It'll be an intro letter. I'll share some content. I'll kind of explain an overview of our guaranteed sale program. And then, the next day or two, you're going to get a big jumbo postcard from me. Right. And that postcard is going to be a picture of a house. And I try to find the ones that I've had the best stats. You don't want to pick a home because on mine, I'm going to say, hey, I sold this home in 1 day for 105% asking price. I'll sell your home in 29 days or less, or I'll sell it for free, which is the program I've been running for the last year now, as opposed to the buy it one. You don't want to pick a home that took you 6 months to sell and you sold it for 80%, right? So if you're going to send postcards, make sure you find the ones that have the best stats. And then the next day they're going to get a letter, and then the next day they're going to get another postcard. And so it's just in this formula where basically for 60 days, man, I just keep hitting them. And it's not every single day. I mean, there might be a day or two gap in between these. I'd have to pull out the actual sheet. It's been a long time since I've actually looked at the day-by-day strategy of this. But the expired one is super aggressive, a little bit more aggressive than the for sale by owner. It's still a 60-day thing, but I'd probably send them, maybe 10 less things. It's just not as aggressive because, for sale by owners are they're a different breed, right? The expired people have already bought into the industry to some extent. They're probably not happy with their last agent. Obviously, their home didn't sell. So I'm sure they're frustrated, but you got to understand that everyone in the marketplace is going to be calling them, trying to do something to get in the door. The good news is for everyone watching this, 99% of people in your marketplace can't sell. And they won't pick up the phone and make calls, at least not consistently. So just know that. They're going to call maybe once. We all know that, the sale isn't usually made on the first call anyways. Unless, again, you're good at selling, you can close the appointment and everything else. And most people will never follow up beyond that point. So, with direct mail on the expired side, though, it has to be super aggressive because everyone's going to be trying to get that listing. There are going to be people calling, knocking on doors. There's some people who send a little less effective direct mail. But that's how it started. Nowadays, for people who fill out our home price evaluation ads or past clients, we send them what I call my success series. So they get the postcards. So they just get one postcard every single month. It's just a jumbo postcard. I mail there's probably about 500 of those that go out every single month. To our again past clients and some of the leads and stuff we have. It's just a postcard every month, again, of a property we sold that had good stats, this and that. I don't put my cell phone number on anything anymore. Everything typically has my links to my funnels. I like to just automate things and make people go through my process. But that's how it started. That's where we're at now. We continue to run it. I've created magazines and some different things that I mail out as well. But it's usually just a sale by owners expired listing. Because I am a listing and marketing based business. That's really what I am, I think. And that's what I focus on. I look at listings as the business. Buyers is just simply bonus checks. Granted, for my agents here, we love buyers just like we love sellers, but we don't focus on that as being the main part of my business. I always knew that if we could build the inventory, the rest would just happen. So my entire focus is on my side is always building that inventory. And so that's why we target those people who've already raised their hand and said, hey, I have some interest, or hey, I need your help. And so we just, we provide them the content that allows them to ultimately reach out to us, and then we just, provide the help from there.
Yeah, love it, dude. So then, all right, so man, you're doing all these things. You're getting very intentional, very strategic about your marketing, and your business continues to grow. I know today you got a couple admin, you got an inside sales agent, you got 5 agents plus yourself. At what point did you start growing your team? And then kind of walk through how that morphed over time, what hires you hired, and how did it morph to what it is today?
Yeah. So, man, it's been a lot of ups and downs. I'm sure, like a lot of people, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of, I mean, growing pains, a lot of hires and fires, the whole nine. First things, I mean, when I first started trying to build a team, I guess you'd say, it was just me. And then I hired first lady who came in and walked in. I had so much shit going on. And like literally I put an ad and like everyone started emailing me. I was getting like people's resumes. I mean, they were faxing me, whatever. And I'm like, dude, I should not have put my email on here. These people are overwhelming me. I didn't realize how bad the job market was, that everyone wanted to come work for me. But so here's this lady came in, first lady sat down. She's like, well, I've had 30 years experience at a local bank and working for one of the vice presidents over there. I was like, okay, you're hired. Let's go. I need some help like today. So I did like no interview process, but I had never hired anyone in my life. You know what I mean? So like for me, I was like, this is cool. I just need somebody. Probably a good book to read is just throwing this out there and kind of interrupting myself here, but The E-Myth by Michael Gerber is a great book because I was in a certain stage that he talked about where I was kind of an infant moving into adolescent. And so I just hired the first person I could to try to take some things off my plate. And it worked for a little bit, but it just, thinking back on it now, it was probably just as much me as it was her. I really wasn't a manager, so I was kind of like, I was expecting people to be like me. So I'm like, I'm going to show you once. Don't ask me again. Let's just get this shit done. Don't bother me. I'm trying to work, just whatever. So I took my eye off a lot of things. As I just gave them to her, I was like, oh, what a relief, and I just stopped looking at a lot of things. So some things were falling through the cracks and there were a lot of issues there. And at the same time, I was trying to bring in people as buyer's agents. And because I was generating so much leads and I wasn't personally following up with them, I was building out follow-up campaigns and all that. And I'm like, again, if the buyers come through, great. If they don't, no big deal because I'm only focused on my listings. So I brought in buyer's agents and I'd be like, here's some training, here's some leads, best of luck to you. This is more than I ever got starting out, so you should be fine. Was not the right way to do that. It was a lot of turnover. People weren't, if I think back on when I started, right, how fearful I was when I first walked in. I can remember making my first calls even, cold calls, and like my heart was racing and the phone would ring and I like instantly would hang up and then like have to take a few deep breaths and then call back. And so here I was like sticking people, like giving them leads, cold buyer leads. We all know how that is, right? Those things aren't the best convertible things. And so I was sending them off and then they were struggling a little bit. And my brother, he's been with me since he's 18. He's about 22 now. So he's been with me for the last 4 years. But other than that, I've had other people come in and I didn't have at the time. I'm on this whole warrior kick too, like do the fucking work, and like, yeah, which is true, right? We're like, get shit done, right? Like we're just get it done. But from there, then I started to realize like, okay, that's not working. And then last year was my full year of really kind of getting this thing really going. The year before that, like about 6 months in, I guess, probably about August, maybe give or take, this gal had come through. I'd been actually talking to her for about a year to come into the real estate business. And then finally she came in with her husband one day. I sold her on it. She went back, quit her job. Like that kind of, she called me the next day. She was like, oh, I quit my job. And I'm like, shit, I guess things just got real. But she was super personable. I knew she worked hard. She had some sales experience and she seemed super excited. So she came in and things started taking off. And then I thought, if I really wanted to step out of the current capacity of my business and really move into the next stage, like I'm going to have to start sharing the listing side of my business, so maybe this person would be a fantastic listing partner for me. So I came because originally I was like another buyer's agent, right? This gal will work hard, another buyer's agent. So I brought her in and started putting her on the listings. She picked up pretty quick. She was able to go through with me on, I started taking her. She shadowed me for about 6 months. And then I shadowed her for about 6 months. And then I just kind of let her loose. And if you put in perspective, like she came in at the right time. My business was exploding. It had been for a couple of years and it really took off. In that first full 12 months of her, she made $103,000 in her first year. So I wish you could hear your pod, like when you say the 10 grand sometimes. I think she does. Sometimes she loses a little bit of perspective of what it's like for most of us in the first year. But she came in and was a 6-figure producer in her first year. And for me, like that was when I was like, okay, so now from there, it grew. I had a buddy of mine who quit, worked at Veterans United, and he'd been in the real estate business before. I had told him, come work with me. But he ended up going to Veterans United. Once he saw all the stuff we were doing here, he quit, came work with us. He's kicking ass. He's doing about 15 transactions this month just by himself. And so I guess what really changed for me is when I started sharing, and of course we hired the ISAs. I've tried ISAs inside and outside. There was a lot of ups and downs in that too. If you're going to hire ISAs, just be ready for some growing pains. Again, you got to take the time to train people. That is where it clicked for me. I was like, I wasn't taking the time to train. Nowadays, I run 3 meetings a week. right? We do general meetings, we do sales specific meetings, and we do listing training meetings as well. I'm very training and mentor focused here at this point. So I really take that role as a leader and as a mentor and as the coach of this team way more seriously than I used to. I invest in my people, and I really share the wealth, so to speak. I don't try to hoard all the listings and go, here's some buyers and hope you can make it. It's like train the people on that side. If you ever want to get out of your business, you're going to have to teach people how to, you're never going to find you. Right? That's never going to happen, because if you find you, it's going to be your competition. The chances are they're not going to work with you. But you do have to teach people at least to have certain skill sets that allow to replace you in those aspects that are most valuable. In this business, it's the listing side. So teaching people how to do that, and then putting them in those positions. And then, so there's certain splits and things we run, but this way they're always getting paid. I think for most people, the reason why they fail in this business, especially starting out, is because they don't get paid right away. There's months that go by they don't get paid. The worst part about this business is the unpredictability, in my opinion, that can happen when you don't have certain systems and processes in place that guarantee you're going to get paid every single month. Once I started getting people paid every month, the attitudes of people, their excitement, their participation, their work ethic, it changed completely. And it really took me giving them the listings, not just the buyers, and allowing them to kind of work both sides. Now, the fearful part of that is, we got to make sure that you don't just give someone all your clients and then everyone forgets it. Because my fear was, what if everyone forgets about me? But the good news is, and that's not the ego thing, it's just, well, what happens if this person takes all my clients and bounces, right? Builds up $100,000 a year and goes, well, thanks for the cheddar, I'm out, like a Conor McGregor, right? Just peace out. So for me, it was, I had to take that leap of faith again and go, this is either going to work or it's not. And I said, let's just give it a go. But again, from the marketing side, because I'm constantly pumping myself out there, everyone's always driving to me. So I know that if someone left, as some of you all might disagree with this, but majority of my business is not with repeat customers. It's with people I've never met before. I don't try to run a turn and burn strategy. We certainly get referrals, but my marketing is so heavy and so effective at this point that I'm generating so much business. Honestly, we have to turn people away. I always thought I keep my team where it is because I think this is where it needs to be. I always thought if 4 or 5 people working towards a common goal will kick the hell out of somebody of an office of 50 people, and with everyone going in different directions. That to me sounds like a freaking nightmare. So I'm like, if we can just get everyone on the same page and everyone works towards the same goals and everyone is assisting everyone here. It's a weird concept in this business because everyone's so competitive, right? It's weird to get everyone to kind of work together sometimes. But in doing that, man, we're just, and this thing has just kind of exploded. So again, it was just an idea. I tried a lot of different ways. This has just been the one that's worked best for me. And it's probably just because it's my, for my management style, it took some trial and error, and this is just where we ended up. So it works really well.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. It's like Richard Branson's famous quote of, train your people so good that they can become or train them so well they can become your competition, but treat them so good they never want to leave you.
Exactly.
And but yeah, I mean, trust equates to what your capacity is, and you've got to give that trust. I mean, so now I know you're still taking listings. I mean, for you, do you see your next step of stepping out of production altogether and just going out there and recruiting talent and training and coaching talent? I mean, is that what you kind of see your next personal progression?
Yeah. So that's another thing, right? So always trying to pull yourself out of production, and all coaches and things that I've always had, they're like, be careful, do it slowly over time. Don't just pull yourself out completely because you get smacked pretty hard sometimes if it's not done properly. So slowly but surely I have begun to remove myself, which is why I bring someone in on every listing we do. Because they're the point of contact. I've automated my communication process, and my every listing I take in goes into a seller listing campaign. They get automated emails that go out each week with a video that's walking them through the listing process, what to expect, what we've done, what we're going to do. They get automated text and voice broadcast campaigns that are, again, kind of explaining the same things. So I've automated the communication process for the most part. They're on the servicing side. Usually I don't have to go and do walkthroughs and depending on who the agent is, I don't have to do the listing presentation as much anymore. Honestly, I find a lot of free time on my hands, hence why I picked up, looking at trading stocks and stuff like that, just for a new hobby of mine. So I think the next logical step is, we're looking at partnering up with some agents in a different marketplace. I mean, I've talked to people in different places. So really what we're looking to do is take what I do here, and, kind of go out there and show them It's more of a partner model in saying, hey, we're going to go out, we're going to generate the leads. We've got the ISAs to qualify. We've got all the direct mail, all the Facebook ads, etc. Right? We're just going to be hooking you up with these people, and then here's going to be the split. So I'm finding some good agents in other marketplaces, and that's the next step for me, is going out and starting to expand. Not just, I feel like we've taken this over. I mean, we're at 18%. Certainly we could get more, I'm sure. But the effort, I think, to go in and get a few extra percent here would not be as valuable to me as going in and putting in that same effort into a new marketplace where it's kind of wide open and begin to take a chunk of that market as well. So really we're looking to take over a specific region. And then ultimately, the long-term goal would be to be, leading in the state. And then who knows where it goes from there. But sort of, I think I have a pretty good franchised model, so to speak. For the most part, everything is it's automated. Everyone does things the same way. It's pretty predictable at this point. So yeah, logically, it is stepping out of the full side production, recruiting talent, as you said, coaching these people up, and for the most part, running, keeping the marketing things expanding and all that. I honestly, I'd like to get to a place where I sell this thing. That to me, I'm like, how can I build a business that I can sell? I said from day one, residential real estate would never be the end game for me. Even before I knew that I'd be anywhere close to where I'm sitting today, I just said this isn't going to be it. But I've got my own plans and dreams and things, and for the most part, it's about working to get myself as financially free as possible, be able to provide as much value to other people. As much as I love all of our clients. I appreciate them. I honor them, and I wouldn't be where I'm at without them. So, I truly mean that. But I also think that my greatest contribution of value is not listing a home. It's not showing a buyer a property. It's about showing other people how this type of industry can change their life if they'll just put in the work. If they're just, you're in the same boat, man. So I know you know what I'm saying here. That's where I feel my greater contribution of value is be able to take time and show my kids, like, hey, I didn't have a dad around to show me how to be an entrepreneur, right? So I want to be able to show people, and so for me, the only reason I've stuck around this game as long as I have, because I wanted to build the business to a place where it was actually saleable. If I wanted to do that, which was to not only step out but be able to sell this valuable asset to someone else. And allow them, to be a good thing for them. And then who knows where life takes me after that. But that's, in at least the next 5 years, that's really kind of the big picture goal for me. So
yeah, love it, dude. So I know you talked about an inside sales agent, which, has really been kind of, I don't know, the next big thing in the, well, not next big thing, but it's definitely something that's taken off over the last few years with popularity, because it's such a key position. Can you give us an example or some examples of kind of like what your inside sales agent does, what their roles are, and at what point those clients get passed off to your agents?
Cool. So I tried hiring people inside, bringing people in and trying to have them call here. And at the time, I probably wasn't investing in their own sales training. I gave them, training that I had used, training that I had recorded, but I kind of wanted them to just, do your thing. Well, it was hard to find a good sales. Remember, a little town. Not that there's not good salespeople here, but if they're killing it in their specific industry, they're not trying to come here and make calls for me, right? They're doing their own thing. So, and I didn't have a real good recruitment strategy in place to find talent to come in here and sell. If I'm being honest. So then I went out and I started calling around. I know a lot of people in this industry. So I'm like, who are you guys using, right? Like, what's a good company? Where can I find some good ISAs? I got turned on to some different people, tried. Some people weren't made able to convert properly. Some people were putting shit on my calendar, but no one was ever showing up. So my agents were sitting here waiting, and things weren't getting confirmed, that sort of thing. So then a buddy of mine, Johnny Fowler and Brian Norvell. Brian is one of the top agents out in Dallas right now, and Johnny runs Hancock Mortgage. And they now have done what I think a lot of, like you said, it's kind of becoming a bigger thing. Genius business model, really, if they can truly pull this off across the country. But so basically what they do is they have the mortgage side of the business. Of course, he's on the real estate side. They build the ISA team up in Dallas. And then they go out to each marketplace, find a lender, get them into Hancock Mortgage, and then partner. This is my understanding. I guess I'm not, if I've got it wrong, if they're watching this, forgive me. But this is my understanding of the model. And basically what they're doing there then is going out and taking that lender and partnering with an agent. And so then they're running ads, which kind of gets a little confusing because I'm running them, they're running them. But basically what happens there is they've got the ISA team. They get them in, they get them pre-qualified, they do all that. So by the time they're being passed off to us, they've been qualified. We've got all the notes on them. They've talked to them. They've done their whole thing and filtered them out. And then the only time they set up the appointments here in our office or for us to reach out to them. So the only time we're talking to them is once we know they've been approved. I mean, if they got a home to sell, et cetera, that's a different story, I suppose. But, they're getting approved. So they're getting two sides of it. So good for them, right? They're getting they close every lead that they generate and turn over for us, they get a certain percentage right off the top. And then obviously they get a little bit on the lender side too, if they can get these people hooked up with their local lender. So I've been using them and they've been fantastic. I mean, they got licensed realtors that are highly trained that are calling these people. And I was willing to pay a little bit of a premium to have that piece in my business. I say premium because before I could have just probably paid someone a flat fee each month. In this case, I don't pay a penny until something comes in. So they're constantly running leads. They're the ones making all the calls when they come in. There's just, what I would consider probably a small percentage based on the value that's really there. We've only been doing that for about 3 months now. It's been super effective, the most effective ISA piece that I've ever been able to implement into my business. And I didn't even have to create it, right? So I just partnered up with.
Well, because then, you're still able to run your business. It's just what they generate for you, right? So they're not taking a piece of the pie of anything that you self-generate. So it's the best of all worlds.
Exactly. Yeah. And the cool thing is, like I said, there's no one else in my market that's truly running ads, at least not effectively. These guys are trained by a lot of the same guys that I was. So, they know how to do their thing too. So we've got, me running all the ads that I am. Now they're running ads. For the most part, I don't see how we don't just completely, I'm sure we can take over more market share. I'm sure I could grow, add more agents and all that. And maybe that is the next step. But for me, for the most part, I'm looking to really solidify this and move on. But that has been a piece that I knew was missing for a long time. I know a lot of people are running that model. Just on my side, I wasn't truly able to figure it out to where it was working properly until these guys came along. And I kind of put the workload on them. I'm like, cool, man, if it's working, it's working. I'm willing to pay a little bit, and on each sale we do, and just have a long working partnership together. So
yeah. Badass. Love it, dude. So knowing everything you know now, dude, if you could go back to yourself when you first got your real estate license, right? Yeah. Or even on the clocks before that, man, even like, your 18-year-old self, if you will. If you could go back knowing everything you know now with all your life experiences and you could give yourself 2 pieces of advice, what would that be?
I think advice number 1 would be to, number 1 is listen to the voice. We've all got the voice, and it sounds cliche as hell. But if you learn to get present at times and listen to what your gut's truly telling you to do, we all know what we're supposed to do. It's just a lot of times we're too afraid to do it. Right? So if I could go back to myself and like quit being a little bitch and just listen to the voice, be willing to take the leaps of faith and be willing to have that faith in yourself and invest in yourself. The second thing I would say is acquire a thirst and a desire for knowledge. Right, that sounds like that Tai Lopez guy, right? Like, go get some knowledge, but it's true. One of my favorite hobbies today is I love to learn, and so back then I didn't, right? Like reading a book, get out of here. You know what I mean? If I go back to my old self, I would slap me. I'm like, dude, you need to be reading, everything you can that's relevant in what you're trying to create. And but I always tell people my desire for the acquisition of knowledge is a big reason why I am where I am. Because without that, I never would have reached out to Garrett White and paid him I paid $25,000 for some knowledge that he had that I didn't. Right? I was willing to invest everything. I put it all on the line. If I didn't create the results there, nothing would have happened for me. But from before there until now, that is the 2 things I could say is be willing to invest in yourself, take leaps, listen to the voice, and ultimately, if you don't have it yet, start reading, learn. Because in these books that we read, and I'm pointing back here because I've got a whole bookshelf, right? The books that you read nowadays, it's not just about reading. It's not just some story. These books allow you, if you'll take the action, to turn that knowledge into money, right? To a tangible asset. That would be the 2 things. Obviously, there's a million things you could do, but I would say those 2 things will get you on the right track. And more than anything, just don't be afraid to just chase your freaking dreams, man, and just make things a reality. So cliche as hell, dude, but it's true. That's the big thing.
Yeah, love it. Powerful words, man. And to those watching and listening, I know I end every podcast with this, you guys, but information without implementation truly is just the start of delusion. Information's not power. It's taking that information, taking massive action on it that then creates power inside your world. So Adam shared so many amazing, epic pieces of advice that you can apply to your life, to your overall business. Take something that you learned and go out there and take immediate action on it. And like I said, you guys, I highly recommend that you go out there and start following Adam on social media. Like I said, man, you can see what he's posting. It's like Picasso's favorite quote, or famous quote, good artists copy, great artists steal, right? You don't need to go out there and reinvent the wheel. So make sure you check that out right away. We'll have links below for that. And Adam, man, I know how busy you are, dude. I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here, man. This has been awesome.
Oh, yeah, bro. I appreciate it. I know it's a long time coming, so I'm glad we can finally do this.
Yeah, 100% me as well. All right, you guys. Well, we will see you next time. Thanks again.
All right, peeps, that wraps up today's show. Again, thank you so much for watching the show. I truly appreciate it. Just a few quick reminders and favors that I need from you. Number one, please share the show. Anyone you feel can benefit from this show. This truly helps us grow the show, continue going out there and having impacts on many, many lives. So it'd mean the world to me if you went out there and shared the show. Number two, if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, please go out there on iTunes, Stitcher, leave us a 5-star positive review. All that stuff helps for awareness of the show. Also, make sure to join the GSD Mode private Facebook mastermind group. If you haven't already, you can go to gsdmode.com. Right on the front page, there's a link there. Click that. We'll get you added right away. A lot of cool stuff in there, a lot of masterminds. We're bringing a lot of Facebook Live, different stuff in there they have access to that you can't get anywhere else. And lastly, I want to give our sponsors a quick shout out that make this show possible. So our first sponsor is my personal 90-day mastery bootcamp. This is my personal mentorship training program where I give you everything that I do inside my business, right? You get my entire playbook. We have 12 live, 3+ hour long training sessions. You get daily access to me inside the program. There's a bunch of bonus training sessions. You get access to every single thing that I do inside my business. All my tracking forms, all my presentations, checklists, lead generation tactics, lead follow-up tactics, team contracts, and so much more, you guys. There's nothing that compares to this program. You get full access to everything that I do inside my company. I hold nothing back. Go check us out, www.90daymastery.com, where you can learn more information, see future dates, see testimonials, all that fun shite. If you decide to join, make sure to plug in Live Mastery inside the promo code, all one word, all together, all caps. That'll save you 500 bones on the program. So you get it for only $997, which is a freaking steal, or 3 payments of $333. Our next sponsor is PerfectStormNow.com. So PerfectStormNow.com is an insanely effective lead generation website for realtors, and now offers a website and CRM combo with all my custom personal follow-up drips, all of my scripts that are inside there, right? So there's no guesswork. And when a lead comes in, based on the lead source, you're gonna know exactly what to say, when to say, how to say. All of it's just auto-filled, and we made it where it's dummy-proof. I mean, this system is as powerful, if not more powerful, in my opinion, than the $1,000 plus monthly websites, and it's only $199 a month. So go to PerfectStormNow.com. You can check out in-depth demos, see more testimonials, learn more information on it, all that cool jazz. Our last sponsor is EMF. So Optimized Life Nutrition has created the most powerful nootropic on the planet called EMF, Energy, Memory, Focus. So if you're like me and you want insane energy, improved memory, an extremely intense focus, this is the best product that money can buy, you guys. I personally take it every single day before I do webinars, before I do things like this, man. I'm always taking this product to go out there and enhance, again, my focus, my intensity, my memory, every aspect of it. So go out there and check right now on www.optimizedlifenutrition.com, where you can learn more about EMF. Lastly, you guys, if you want to be like me and the rest of the GSD crew, as well as my real estate team and so many others that listen to this, listen to the show and support the show, make sure you're rocking this GSD Mode gear, man. We want to go out there and spread the love, spread the word, spread the GSD Mode name. So on the site, gsdmode.com, we have men's shirts, women's shirts. We're starting to run a lot new apparel through the site, so you see a lot more coming as well. So make sure to go check out the site, pick that up, have some fun. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.